there are going to be some slight bell issues. So I've asked the students that have a bell that goes off during their presentation to just stop, wait until the bell finishes, and then continue on. So please don't hold that against them. Also, if you feel the need to get up and stretch and move your legs in between, it's a long time to sit. What I would ask you to do is please don't move during the presentation, but in between, feel free to get up and move to the back and stretch a little bit. And then if you're not seated by the time the presentation begins, just kind of hang out in the back, and then once they finish, you're welcome to come on in. We're going to go ahead and start off this afternoon with Miss Chelsea Bickley. She's going to talk to you about organic agriculture.
Hi everybody, so as Ms. Jackwood said, I'm Chelsea Bickley, and my project was on the sustainability of organic agriculture. And for me, I chose this topic because ever since I was little, I've always enjoyed going to the garden or taking care of the flowers with both my mom and my grandmother. And so I've never really had formal training though in that side of agriculture. I've always done the horses and the livestock side and really have enjoyed the animal science things. But other than taking the greenhouse class here at the high school, I never really learned the proper way, so to speak, of the plant side of agriculture, and definitely not the organic side. So that was a real new stretch for me. We're having technical difficulties. Where did Miss Jackwood go?
Oh, there you go. There you go, Nikki. You know from experience, don't you?
Okay. Sorry for that interruption. So then continuing on, my internship, I interned with Miss Susan Hill, and she owns Hill Farm here within Louisa County. And she has an organic farm. And so what she does, she originally founded this farm in 2008 when she was tired of her vegetables being kind of bland and not having a lot of flavor to them. So she just had done research, and organic farming, your vegetables are more flavorful and have more nutrient dense items. So therefore, she founded her farm. And when she first started, it was only one high tunnel. And since then, now she has 4 high tunnels, and she also sells to other members of the community and other local food groups. So she's really expanded her business from there. My favorite part of my internship was really the hands-on aspect of the learning of it. And so like on the picture on your left, you can see that Miss Hill and her husband are the only 2 workers of her farm. They've done a lot of things to make it as easy on them as possible. So as you see here, these are drip watering hoses that then you would plant the plants in each little hole going over the tarp. And the tarp is to help keep down on weeds, so that cuts out that kind of labor need. And then also each little drip torch would go right beside the plant. So then all she has to do is turn on the watering hose, and it would water all the plants in the bed from her at a slow, steady rate to make sure that they get the water that they need. In this bed this day, we had just harvested her eggplant. And so then those eggplant we're going to go to, she has a group of people that each month she makes a little food basket for them. And they get recipes and vegetables for what they can do with this food basket. And so we had harvested the eggplant, and we were getting ready to plant cabbages in there. And so then one of the things that I really found interesting what she does is she uses, it's called integrated pest management. So organic farming doesn't use insecticides. So instead, one of the ways that she keeps down on the insects and the pests is actually by promoting the positive insects. So for example, on the picture on your right, when I was little, I always thought that these were called tomato worms, and that these tomato worms had eggs on their back. And we always killed them automatically, thinking that these eggs were going to hatch into more tomato worms. But actually, I learned what they are is a tachinid wasp species that when those eggs hatch, they're going to eat the caterpillar and then fall into the ground. And so they're actually going to promote more wasps. So actually, when I was little and killing the caterpillars, thinking I was doing good, I really wasn't, because I was just helping the caterpillar instead of helping the tomatoes grow more. So So then my ultimate favorite part of my internship and what I learned was like how quickly her plants grew compared to ours at home and things. And so these two pictures were taken September 13th and then 2 weeks later on September 27th. And these are all species of different kale and lettuce that we planted. And so I actually got to see these from the time we put them in seeds in little 6-packs and then transplanted them into the gardening beds. And so what she actually uses that helps promote the growth so quickly is carbon water. And that actually feeds little organisms inside the soil that then promotes and also the pest management for the whole farm in general. So then moving forward to my community service, I did my community service with the Louisa Resource Council, which also kind of connected with Mickey's, and we both did food drives. Volunteered at the Community Resource Center, and so there my mentors were Mr. Lloyd Runnett and Miss Kathy Porter. And so I went each week and packaged meal boxes, as you can see on your right. And these boxes had, they would have cereal, some canned items, fresh vegetables that came from the Walmart distribution center often. And so then each month, the individuals who are in need within the community pick up a box, and that would be supplemental towards their food for the month. And so one of the things that I found really, one day I was just kind of standing waiting in between while people were coming in and out, and I noticed over on the little table they had this saying, and it says, being humble means recognizing that we are not on earth to see how important we can become, but to see how much difference we can make in the lives of others. And so to me, I thought that was really humbling, because here we all are, and we don't recognize sometimes the opportunity that we have to make a difference in the lives of others. And there are people who would come in and you don't really realize even the difference you're making on them. Because sometimes, and I thought it was the most humbling thing, was before they'd go to leave, they'd say, thank you, have a blessed day. And it was just little things like that that kind of made you sit and think, wow, that's really, you are making a difference and an impact. And so as the legacy portion of my community service, I did a canned food drive at the Macedonia United Methodist Church within Louisa County. And their youth group sponsored my food drive, so the idea is that each year they will continue on with the food drive. And throughout the whole church, in a matter of, I think it was over the course of 3 weeks, we raised 237 items to be donated to the Louisa Resource Council. And this also backed right up to the, October is the food pantry month for our church. So to have this raise this many canned food items right on top of they had just raised the canned food items for the food pantry was a really great thing to see. And so those are all donated to the Resource Council and then will be packaged into little individual bags that will go towards the members who pick up food there. So then moving into my research, I researched the sustainability of organic agriculture and how it's more sustainable than in comparison to conventional agriculture. And so organic agriculture is defined as an absence of insecticides, pesticides, genetically modified organisms. And so generally speaking, it's more friendly to the environment is what most people consider it. And so that being said, it actually does increase the biodiversity of both plant and animal species by 50%. And that's something that a lot of it comes from the lack of insecticides. And so therefore you don't have the runoff. And so the area around it also attracts more species of animals, as well as they integrate a lot of plants that they attract other species to be pollinators and as habitat there. And so also it increases the production rate. And that's something that a lot of people think organic agriculture has a lower production rate than that of conventional agriculture. But what I found was, and Ms. Hill also vouched this for me, was that initially, yes, it does have a lower production rate when you first switch over to organic agriculture. But after a few years of having time to settle in and establish itself, she has doubled the quantity of items than that of most like general conventional farms. And that's something that was really shocking because you don't think of organic agriculture producing that much. And that was generally what most people say is the downfall and why people don't change to organic agriculture is because with a population that is expected to reach 9 billion by 2050, you have to be able to produce food to feed that amount of people. And so also, it's more economically successful than that of conventional agriculture. And currently that's kind of because of the higher demand and lower supply rate. And so a lot of people think that you have to put more into it, more money in, and that's why it has the higher cost. But in fact, it's because more people want to purchase it. And so it doesn't have that competition between local sellers that makes it, that allows the prices to drop. So they are able to charge higher prices, but in reality, they actually have a lower production cost because they aren't having to spend money on the insecticides or the pesticides to put into their farm. And so the personal qualities and personal growth that I got from this was I really learned how to kind of step outside of my comfort zone and go and talk to new people in order to get these opportunities that I had. And then also on a more personal side is I learned about the organic agriculture, and I would like to come back and be an ag teacher. And so in doing so, I would like to do the animal science field. But in doing the animal science field, it's good to have a background kind of in everything. So if you have a student who wants to work with plants, but all you know is the animal things, you wouldn't be able to help them out. So it's really good to have kind of a balance of everything there. And so my future plans are I will be attending Virginia Tech this coming fall and studying in animal and poultry sciences. And then I would like to possibly do a minor in ag leadership and get a teacher degree in order to come back and be an agriculture teacher. So I would like to give a huge thank you to Susan and Scott Hill, who are my mentors at the farm, Lloyd Runnan and Kathy Porter, who are my mentors at the community service, and then the Macedonia Church for their donations of the canned food items. Are there any questions?
Can you say what you said again with regards to the cost of organic food prices? Can you go back over that real quickly?
Okay. So they generally have a higher shelf cost price in the store. Right. But what the growers aren't putting as much cost into it initially because they don't have the insecticides and the pesticides that like a conventional farm would have to pay for those costs. Right. But the farms are able to charge a higher price because there's a higher demand, like more people want those, but there's this lower supply, and so they don't have that competition between people.
I thought I'd heard supply and demand. I'm just like, did I miss something? Because I'm just like, they're making more, but they're charging us less at the store. Not charging you guys. You guys don't buy your own groceries, but this is outrageous.
Expensive, yeah.
My avocados are way too expensive. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So actually, like my internship was kind of a smaller scale farm, but that same idea can be applied to a larger scale farm. And so like generally you would have rows of your crops. And so what you might do is have 2 rows of your crops and then have a row of like flowers that would attract pollinators and insects that are positive to your farm in order to keep down on the negative pests. And so that way you can integrate the organic farming method into a larger scale farm by alternating, say, 5 rows of your crop, 1 row of the special flowers and that type, and then 5 rows of your crop, and so on. And so it can be applied to the larger scale as well.
Did you come across any, when you were doing your research, did you come across, Ms. J, you might know this, actually I'm sure you'll know this better than I will, like hydro planting or hydroponics? Yeah, did you come across, and we can wait. But so did you come across any research on that and see, like, is that performance? I mean, because that's technically organic, is it not? It's hydroponics. Okay. Huh. Interesting. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I didn't focus on that in mind, but as Ms. J said, it could be, you could make it organic or you could make it into a conventional form. Yes, ma'am.
I'm also glad that you're going to be a teacher. You'll do a great job, Chelsea, and really good job on your research and have been presenting that. I do have a quick question about one of the terms that you used, and I feel like I should probably know what this is, but high tunnel, I think I caught
Oh,
that.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah.
So like generally a greenhouse, you have a supplemental heat source, but instead the high tunnels have, so it does the same effect of a greenhouse as far as trapping the sunlight and to heat itself, but you don't have a supplemental heat source. So you don't have like electric needs or electric heat or that kind of thing. And then also during the summer, she has flaps on the side of the tunnel that you can roll up to allow air ventilation to go through the tunnel.
And you had to start your project really early. You had to really think ahead about your project because you had to do the gardening in the summer, right? In
And
the
that's
early
a great
fall.
thing about the high tunnel too is it allows her to grow year round.
Okay.
So she can continue because it keeps around 60 degrees in there year round.
What's the irrigation system that you use? The carbon water? Is that what you said?
So she used carbon water. So when she would, well, the irrigation was like regular water, but when we would plant the plants, we would add like a little bit of carbon water. And so what that does is it gets the ecosystem inside the soil going. And so it like feeds the microorganisms that are inside the soil. And so that is why she believes that her plants are able to grow so much larger and produce much more. Any other questions? Maggie?
What's the most difficult part of your internship or community service?
I would say the most difficult part wasn't so much with my internship as much as my community service. And it was probably seeing like the people who came in, especially like there was sometimes elderly people who would come in and they wouldn't be able to get out of their car or we would have to take the food to their car. And like I recognized that we were helping and that was wonderful. But it was kind of hard to think that sometimes going home, they didn't have the people to help them then get the food in the house and that kind of thing. So that kind of hit home that there is only, like within that situation, there was only but so much we were doing when really there was more need